So this is there's a big book coming out on Google hacking, which I've been working on for almost a year with a team of people, right? And one of the things we're doing is we're taking a look at modern infrastructures. When Google hacking came out early on in 2002, 2003, 2004, it was the sport of children, right? But now it's become the sport of kings because you can get into critical infrastructure. I don't know how many power plants out there that we've been able to go in through their web front end because they didn't secure it, all right? So one of the things that you can do when you're Google hacking is that there's actually two ways of looking at it, right? If you have a unique URL that's spidered by Google, you can search on it. And there's actually two unique URLs in the Amazon web computing environment. One is S3, AmazonAWS.com. All right. The other one is CloudFront.net. These are static routes within the Amazon cloud system. Once you have a static URL, right, you have to link to it from somewhere. So if you link to it from a public-facing website, then odds are highly likely Google is going to follow that link and go scan your entire cloud infrastructure looking for cool stuff. Right? So if you have a directory in S3 Amazon AWS uploads, right, then I now have access to all your uploaded files if you left indexing on. And since we're going to be playing around with buckets today, and no, not a walrus, where's my bucket? But we're going to be working around with S3 buckets today. There's some security things you can do there to make sure that it's not indexed on, right? But you can find movies, backups, uploads, movies, video. You can find everything out there. Everything that's on the internet is out there in the cloud. You can even find raunchy stuff that you didn't really want to. One of the cool stuff is you can actually find diagnostic pages, right? So you can find where the malware is inside of S3 right now, right? You can find S3 that's been hacked as actually popping up in Google Webmaster Tools with a bad diagnostic, right? You can also find XML configuration files, right? When you write data to S3, you end up with a configuration file that's a master index of everything that's in your S3 bucket. If I can get to that XML file, then I know everything that's in your S3 bucket, right? You don't want that publicly readable. You really don't. And then CloudFront. CloudFront is Amazon's way of sending stuff all over the world from a central repository, right? So CloudFront works the same way as S3 in terms of you can dump anything. The interesting part about it, though, is you can't use the // You just put in the name of the file type that you're looking for to make this work. You can't use a slash. You can't use file type MP3. Right? As cloud computing keeps on taking off, when we started this project a year ago, there were maybe a handful, right? Dozens, maybe 100 at best, right? For some of these. Now we're running into the thousands to tens of thousands of people who are vulnerable just to this, and that's a wrong trend line, right? So, yeah, lots of job security on this one. Again, you can always count on people to be weird, right? So, one of the things I thought was really, really interesting, though, was NCAA. Everybody know who NCAA is, right? You now have access to all of the NCAA's uploaded and downloaded files, including contracts shells, inside of this because they left it all out on Amazon S3. So while we're looking up sports teams, right? So we were out there just looking up sports teams and we ran across this. And then we ran across their files. And then we ran across contracts. It was actually pretty sweet. They are in a lot of ways, but even still, is that something that you want people to, if there is an authentication process at NCAA to get into these files, then this is bad. If there's not an authentication stream, if I don't have to log in to get this, then they've accepted that risk of data loss. But they can't track me doing it this way, going straight there and pulling it like they can if I went through the NCAA site, unless you do some magic in S3, which we're going to learn about today. Right? So kind of makes sense. If I can bypass your authentication because you left your S3 bucket open, more power to me. Make sense? So kind of cool? Is it a decent lecture? All right.